Welcome, everybody, wherever you are in the world. So whether it's good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this edition of the Liberian Dream. My name is Lupolu Johnson. I'm also the president of the Liberian Association of Canada here in the beautiful country of Canada. Welcome. Today we're going to be looking at a little bit of the political landscape in our country when it comes to the CPP framework. We're looking at it from a dimension. I mean, if you read the topic from the beginning, you will see we're saying the CPP framework is a crisis beyond politics. I've seen that a lot of people have sharpened their focus on the politics of it and forgetting the bigger problem that we are facing. So today, we'll be putting it under the microscope from the perspective of what it means for where we are as a country, and not just those that are in the CPP. Because you may think it's just a matter of those in CPP or those in opposition or those in government or not in government. It's a much bigger crisis, a crisis that we have been dealing with for a long time before even the CPP. And what is even more interesting is some of the players who have been partakers, facilitators of some of these crises are still involved, even with the current one that we're looking at right now. So the first issue that is a bigger crisis beyond the CPP framework, beyond politics, is the issue of the lack of leadership. So in Liberia, we've gotten used to putting the state of affairs of our country in the hands of people who claim to be leaders but have shown nothing, not 1 inch of true leadership traits, right? So let's look at it. And though some of you may not like me because I'm going to say as it is, first of all, the framework was a crisis to begin with. The framework, in my opinion, created more problems than did anything to bring people together. And I'll tell you why. No proper institution that is not well run can come together and join with other not so well run institutions and expect to have a good outcome. So when you look at these political parties all by themselves in Liberia, most of them are a mess. So how did anybody expect that by them coming together to put something together would have changed the dynamics in any way, shape, or form? I'll give you an example. Any well-run organization, ask anybody, they'll tell you. Any well-run organization, what you look for is transparency and accountability. And the first thing you look for are their financials. How do they manage resources well? Because any organization depends on how resources are used, mobilized, gotten, or dispersed, right? None of these political parties against the election laws of Liberia have ever shown you any level of financial transparency. I've challenged all of them. ALP, LP, UP, ANC, all of them. I've asked, can anybody please give us one copy of any financial report that have been done? None. So if you bring people together that were already not operating, functioning well, the end result is going to be a mess. And that is why you saw the type of framework document that came out, putting responsibilities on people to have financial obligations, but then neglecting the side of transparency and accountability in terms of who reports on those. So if CPP came together and have a financial way that they must pay dues and whatever, right? Great. So who's reporting on how those finances are being managed and spent? So the CPP framework was an opportunist call for people who want to grab power at all costs, realizing that they can use each other. So everybody came with the mindset of using the other person. So as a result of that, nobody's looking at the bigger picture. Nobody's focused on what should we do as leaders. Nobody's focused on what standards, what precedents are we setting. Everybody is looking at how they can outsmart the other person and use them to their own benefit. And this is the bigger problem that we're looking at in the Liberian society today. All of the people we tend to look up to, the people we run behind, are people who care less about what becomes of the country. Most of them are people who only care about what they can use and who they can use to accomplish their selfish aims. And that selfish aim is they believe that the only valuable job in the Republic of Liberia is to become president. There's no other job that's valuable. No, building great healthcare systems, training doctors, training teachers, building educational institutions, none of that stuff matters to anybody. The only thing that matters to people is who will become president. So as a result of that, we find ourselves where we are. So the CPP is a classic example of, and this is not people being bad, oh, it's just people not knowing how. Now, somebody will say, oh, yeah, any arrangement or whatever, people can make mistakes. I agree. Great. So let's look at what happened. The first mistake that they made, call it a mistake. Let me give them the benefit of the doubt. They put in a framework document that only people who are members of the CPP will be eligible for jobs. And you wonder, who would have thought that? And you wonder how all of these people in the room, some of whom have been involved with our political processes for so long, it didn't click to any of them that this was problematic, or better still, they did not even read the document. I would want to believe, I don't even think they read it, because some of the conversations that we're having, if those documents or that framework document was read by the leaders responsible, we will not be having this conversation almost a year later. That conversation would have been held a long time ago. Or either they read it and the incompetence, right, and lack of interest in leadership in the country, that it was unimportant to them. If the Liberian public, as gullible as we are, could have a severe backlash against something in your framework that says only people, members of the CPP, will get jobs, how did it not occur to you? How did you miss it? So we're wasting our time on the current CPP crisis that's going on. This is not the real crisis. The real crisis is the incompetence shown from the very beginning, where a bunch of people came together and tried to put something together that would just allow them to use each other. No, it was not about focusing on how we can create a future for Liberia. It was not about focusing on how we can create, since we say President George, we are not good, he's not doing well, he's doing a horrible job. How can we create something that is different, that is better? No, it was about, how can I be part of that group to use the other person to get what I want? That is the reason why they put such a lackadaisical document together that absolutely gives no accountability to any. No one can be held accountable for anything. So let's fast forward. When the conflicts started, there was a backlash from the public about your framework document. So, okay, great. You turn it over to what we will call astute lawyers to look at it and make sure it's consistent with the Liberian Constitution and blah, blah, blah. Amazing. These lawyers went, did whatever they did, and sent it back to you. And you agree without reading it. And you know why I would say you agree without reading it? Because some of the things we're hearing you say, if you had read what the lawyers presented to you, now that we know what we know, you wouldn't be saying this, because that debate would have happened long time ago in the process before it was even submitted to the National Elections Commission. No, nobody read it. These are very educated people. Nobody read the framework. You people did not read the framework document. You clearly did not. Because it's clear now that there were things in there you did not agree with at the time, but because you did not read it to put it out, you submitted it. I would argue, and I will still argue even up to now, some of you have still not read the entire framework document, even after all of this. Okay, 10, 11 months later, you're now coming to tell us that your whole framework document process, presentation to NEG or filing with NEG, was a dubious, corrupt process. So you are part of the problem. So all of you in the CPP are corrupt people. If we take you by your word, all of you are what? Insincere people. All of you are corrupt. You were part of that process. You cannot vindicate yourself and say, oh, that one man, because that man submitted on a chairmanship. No. By admittance that the process was corrupt and everything, means you are also corrupt, because you did not raise it, you did not do your due diligence, so you went along. So you cannot exempt yourself. You are just as guilty and just as liable. So let's face it. So it's shocking, the second failure of leadership, that you've seen this, that members of the CPP recognize a problem. And their first step was to go and write a long letter about saying nefarious, corrupt, wicked, all the words that are used, criminal. You, all of you in the CPP, you all, if it is true what you're saying, then all of you were part of the criminality. All of you are part of the corruption. You are a member of an association. When someone acts on behalf of an association and it does something, you don't exempt yourself as a member. No, you are just as liable as everybody else. That is the reason why you should be able to constantly do your due diligence. So you can exempt yourself. So you're corrupt. The first thing you know, people are so incompetent. No smart leader will be part of an association and realize a major problem. And their first step is to run to the public to spread propaganda using the situation to you're not a leader. You're not. That's not what leaders do. Leaders solve problems. Leaders don't raise alarms. Leaders don't cause havoc. Leaders don't cause panic. Leaders remain cool, calm, and collective, and problem solve and troubleshoot and take on the issues head on, not by running away from it and running their mouths all over the places, not by going to raise tension. That's not what leaders do. It's not the characteristics of any leader. Leaders are problem solvers. Leaders are not people who tear down. Leaders are people who build. Some of you, the only thing you've known your whole life is how to tear things down. You've never built anything. So you please tell me, who's managing the financial affairs of the CPP? Where are the financial reports that we've gone through at 3 different chairmanships or 4? From Ure to Kumis to Nyomlikanga Lawrence down to Joseph Wakai. We are yet to see one report from the CPP. Where are the reports? You help us understand. Maybe for some of us, we're wrong. But you are the one saying then how you will take over the country. Is this how you will manage the country when you take over? Now let's come to the second failure again of leadership. After all, another failure of leadership. After all of the ones that I've listed, we got to the point where, okay, you people decided to do an investigation. Great, amazing. Who in their right mind, educated people, will decide to do an investigation and then select a committee, and the committee is made up of the accused and the accusers? Okay, the people who say somebody did something criminal with the document, you tell them, you say you one of the judges. Then the person who said no, that lied, nobody did anything criminal, and we didn't do anything criminal, you tell them too, you say you one of the judges. What kind of committee was that? And all of the educated people in our CPP and in our political arena and society accepted that. Like, how can anybody in their sound mind accept that United Party, ALP, and these people were the accusers, from the Mo Alis of the world to all of them? And then ANC was the accused, and ANC denied. No, you set up an investigative committee to go and come up with a report as to what really happened. And you take the people who say, we know for sure that ANC were the one who doctored the document or altered it or changed it. Then you take ANC who said, we know for sure we never did anything to the document. What was the outcome going to be? The people who accused ANC were going to be like, yes, ANC did it. And ANC are going to be like, no, we didn't do it. Why you wasted the time to set up a committee? You just will take the United Party, ALP, other people's statement, and you take ANC statement to you put it side by side and say, here's the investigative report. What sense did that make? What were you hoping to achieve by putting the accusers and the accused in the room to make plow with each other, which is what we end up seeing that happen? They basically made plow and came out with a document that the other people want to put the other things out, the other people want to put their things out, don't put it there too. And these political parties have informed us that they are incapable or unable of solving the problems. So they are looking for anybody else that will solve it. Oh, let's go to the lawyers. Oh, let's go to the this. I've never heard them say, no, we will take responsibility here. We will take leadership here. There are problems. We're going to sit on the drawing board as leaders. We will trash it out. We will find solutions. We will build something. That's what leaders do. No leader. People who cause havoc are not leaders. People who raise the tension, cause alarms, run around the place to do propaganda and show who right and who wrong are not leaders. Leaders are not bothered about who is right or wrong. Leaders are bothered about what do we do to solve problems. That's what leaders do. Isn't that the same thing you've been criticizing President Joe we are for? Isn't that the same thing? I said it on the record. What different have you done? Since CPP been running, who not see financial report from CPP? Now we hearing, oh, people not pay their dues. That only the other people. What a financial report to prove that? That only in your mouth. Where's your financial report? Let's see it. Because if you want to know any institution that was well run, Just look at the financials. You would tell how they spend money, where they spend it, how they get it. You would know for sure whether that's a serious institution. No, you have none. But you want us to buy arguments about who not pay their dues and who haven't paid their dues when you haven't produced one financial report. CPP been operating now for over a year now. And these are the leaders that are supposed to take over the country. Is this the standard that you would take with you if you were to take over? That's why I keep telling you, you're wasting your time. You keep waiting for the next election in 2023 to change the situation in Liberia. The next election, let me tell you today, no election will change the Republic of Liberia. It is not possible. The change that will have to happen in Liberia will have to come from the grassroots up. It will have to come from one home at a time, one child at a time, one church at a time, one community association at a time. So the CPP framework, don't waste your time. It's not about politics right now. It's about the colossal damage trajectory that we are on as a country, where all of the people who we tend to look up to, where we've come to the point we've accepted mediocrity, where we've come to the point we've accepted what you call it, propagandists as leaders, where we've come to the point where we are okay with people who just lie, where we come to the point where we are okay with people who are not able to produce a financial report but put their hand up to say they want to be leaders. We've come to the point where we've accepted people who put their hand up and say they know the solution to the problem. And at the first test, they failed and then they blame everybody else. But we're complacent with it. So you're making a mistake. Keep focusing on the CPP and think the crisis is just about the CPP. No, it's about the greater Liberian population. We're in a serious trouble. The CPP whole saga and framework is a classic example of what the people we call our best in Liberia can offer. Look at our lawyers. That response from the lawyers, honestly, really, in 2021, if you ask to do something you're not able to do, tell them no. But don't write a letter and in portion of the letter say, yeah, we made substantive structure changes or whatever to the document. We did blah, blah, blah. Then you come down in another paragraph and say, but we were not advised because the nature of the issue is political. You were asked by political parties to draft a political document. And then you say the issue is political. It's not even political. I would argue the issue is no longer political. The issue is criminal. It's people lying. The issue is dishonesty. And I don't think as lawyers, astute lawyers, you should be prepared to shield people who are dishonest because you are afraid of what the political backlash will be. So in essence, the lawyers are telling us, because the situation is so political, we're afraid of the backlash. So we don't want to tell you what we know inside. We just want to leave it like that. Isn't that what the lawyer basically said? That's what it said. The issue political, as if the document they were writing, it was not a political document for a political party. You can argue it's a legal document, but it is for politics. So how didn't you expect that at some point it was going to get political when it was going to be used by political parties? So the lawyer basically telling you, say, the thing I will look at, we scare the backlash. We scare it because when we say the real thing that are happening, or we tell you what we observe and the truth about what it is, we scare on what it may happen. So as a result of that, let's just leave it like that. We'll urge people to just keep going like that. You just leave it like that. We need to tell you what it is. And these are supposed to be our astute lawyers. And my whole point is, I don't know why they wrote the letter. I still don't understand for what reason they accepted to even respond to it. They should just tell American lawyers who don't want to be part of this thing. Yeah, please deal with it. Have a nice day. But you can't in the first paragraph of the letter, oh, we did substantial and structural changes to the framework document as of blah, blah, blah. Since this day, we have never touched it. And then we come out and say, we don't want to advise you because we are afraid that the issue is political. When did you know it was? From the day you were asked in June or whenever to review the document and update, didn't you know you were working with a political document? Didn't you know you were working for political parties that only had one purpose, and one purpose for why they were putting that document together was to form a political union to take on the politics of the day? You didn't know that? So now you're afraid of the Liberian people backlash. Instead of you being concerned about what your role will be to set the record straight. If there are people in the CPP who are lying and you got enough evidence to show that it is false, you run away from it. I'm not saying go after any individual. Just put out the facts. If the document was altered based on what you know, please come up. You don't need to say who even did it. Just say clearly, we've reviewed all the documents, and yes, we can confirm that the documents were altered or the document was altered. That's not what we gave. If it wasn't altered, come on and say yes. We did that. All of the changes we saw in that document were changes that we made. The document was not altered. How is that political? How? How is it political to say this is accurate based on what we did, or this is inaccurate based on what we did? What in that is so political? But these are the people, apparently, who hold the political future to our country. And I tell you this, that's the reason why I doubt that the next election will do anything substantial to change regardless of who wins. Because the dial has already been cast. And it's going to be managing how many dishonest people we can manage. It's a shame. This whole thing is a colossal example of how every sector in our country leadership is lacking. From the day the framework was established, it was a mess. 4 political parties came together instead of addressing key crucial questions right from the beginning. They said, no, let's get down the road. We'll get there. We'll get to that bridge. We will cross it. So today now they're fighting. They can't even clearly agree on what the things they wrote really mean. Some people say the voter perception survey is binding. Other people say, no, it's not binding. It's just to inform us. Some people say we got to follow what the voter perception. Some people say, no, we need to follow it. We can go different way. Now some people say we got to do block voting too. Some people say, no, you can't do block voting. Some people say you can leave the CPP if you want. Some people say you can leave the CPP if you want. You hearing the kind of arguments that are going on? Like the type of, what the lawyers did is a classic example of what we see with the Supreme Court of Liberia. At least in my lifetime, whenever something goes to the Supreme Court for interpretation, it's supposed to be the final bus stop. No, when it leaves the Supreme Court, even the lawyers in the country are more confused than before it went to the Supreme Court. That's what happened here. Lawyers read something in a letter that you look at, you like, huh? Really? The lawyers wrote that letter? How? The same thing. All the decisions, Brendan Samuga case has gone to the Supreme Court and come out. It might go there again. You would think when the Supreme Court renders a decision, it's so clear day and night that the matter is resolved as far as the Constitution is concerned, because the Supreme Court has rendered a decision, an opinion on the matter. No, when the Supreme Court finished render, the same thing with a referendum. Some people say it was illegal for the referendum to go ahead because the government did not meet up with the requirements as laid down by law. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, okay, certain things were not met, but we're not able to say whether it was legal. Like, what kind of problem is this? So there was no clarity from the Supreme Court whether the referendum could go ahead or could not go ahead. It was up to the government to decide what they want to do. It's a classic example of what we're seeing with our lawyers. Astute lawyers, by the way, people who were small children, when we yell at me, we quiver. They were revered, people who we respected because of who they were and because of their achievements, whether it's academic or education, whatever they've done. Today, they are not able to tell us that a document that we work on was tampered with or not, regardless of who interest is in. They are afraid because it will be too political to do so. The CPP framework, my friends, is a crisis beyond the politics of the day. Is the crisis of the deception that we have accepted to call people leaders who don't even meet 10% of the characteristics of leaders. The CPP framework crisis is showing us the level that we have sunk to, how low we've gone as a society. It's showing us the gross inaptitude and the gross incompetence of the people who we are running behind. Ask all of the political parties in the CPP, where are their financial reports? Ask this, anywhere money is paid, anywhere value is added, anywhere people contribute their time, their effort, their resources, you owe them the accountability. Let's forget about the election laws that requires it. If you can account for what you're giving now, you want to convince me that when somebody makes you president, that's when you account for it? No. And then when small thing all of you come and scream, oh, CPP dues, only the person has paid, the other person hasn't paid. Where are the financial reports? You will not be telling us if you were publishing financial reports. We would have been seeing the financial reports and seeing clearly where things are going. The Liberian people would have had access to the same thing we do in Liberia. The lack of transparency has become an accepted norm in our country, where legislation and laws being passed that voodoo, you got to be well connected to get a copy of the laws that are being passed are supposed to govern everybody. To get access to information in Liberia, information that the Constitution says is for all of us, you have to be well connected. And if you are well connected, it's written and positioned in a way that only 10% of the country can understand it. But you want to hold the whole country liable for something only 10% can understand. Help me understand. When you hear to say the legislature passed a new law in Liberia on XYZ, what place you can find a copy in? To the point where journalists then, radio station can be treating it like they get something classified information. The information are supposed to be in the public domain. No entity in the Republic of Liberia has a properly secure, robust website. None, not even the LRA. The information on the LRA website is not as accessible. Or why you think that only all living in Monrovia? You really think my old man are in Zogowi? Don't go Zogo. We said, let's start Monrovia. My old man are in Rele Manke. You think she can access the information on the LRA website in the formats that they are available in? You think so? So who are we serving? Political parties the same way. They are inaccessible. None. No, nowhere. They're inaccessible. You turn on the radio station, the hell of a grammar name you can be hearing on the video radio station. Our old man in Rele got zero interest. They don't listen to radio. Because nobody can understand what it's saying. Even the people going to school, students in Liberia will rather listen to Facebook talk show hosts who use their platform to denigrate people in Liberian English, blackmail people, insult people. That's what our people listen to, because that's what they can understand. The places you people are supposed to help them understand, you use lingo and languages that they cannot understand. And when you speak English, I keep telling you, you won't speak it at a level that even yourself, you're struggling with it. Let's break this stuff down in a practical level. You people worry about Benena, Yure, Joseph Boaka, Nyomblika, and Zana Kumis. You're wasting your time. The CPP crisis is a colossal example of how low we've sunk as a society. It's a colossal example of how we are willing to accept incompetence. I told you a long time, if you're a young person like me, I told you a long time, quit your political party. It's not worth your value. We are talking about a group of people. We are asking them to produce quality things when they all get together in their various parties and call young people militants. That the people you are expecting better from. You are expecting better from a group of people who cannot produce one financial report in their own parties. You are expecting better from them. You are expecting better from a group of people who are not able to put together an agreement that can hold themselves accountable. They only put together an agreement of what they will benefit from it, but they don't put an agreement together of how to hold them accountable. You are expecting better from a group of people where at the first phase of conflict, they all run to the media to go and denigrate each other more. You're expecting better from a group of people who at the first sight of problem, as cowards, they run away and go look for who to blame. You are expecting better from a group of people who look you in your face and say, we are supposed to be paying our due, but we're not paying our due. But we ain't got no financial report to show you. We just tell you in our mouth. And you sit there and you think we should expect better? I beg to differ. I do not expect better. I don't. I cannot expect a Toyota Camry to race with a Porsche and expect the Toyota Camry to win. No, I don't. That voodoo, I can't do that kind of thing. I know what the result would be. So y'all keep wasting your time about, ANC called Ray, United Party Ray. Let me give you something today. See the people running around. Elisha Stowe, temperamental, cannot control his simple temperament. Your own press conference, you vex at it. Mo Ali, inconsistent. His analysis don't hold water. No credibility, in my opinion, for them. ALP, every time they come out, that propaganda. Liberty Party, chaos. The internal coming outside. Just name them. I'm not kidding you. Let me tell you something. If you're an ordinary citizen and you do what you do, we don't put you under this type of scrutiny. But when you put your hand up and say you are a leader, which means you're saying you can solve the problem, and you step in the fray, my friend, mediocrity is unacceptable. There is absolutely no excuse for failure. There is absolutely no excuse for your incompetence. You must own up and stand up and say, I failed. Whole day they're passing around finding different explanations to give. Whole day everything else should be blamed except you. But in the same verse, you say you are a member of the CPP. How can you be a member of the CPP? However, we should blame everybody else for problems in the CPP except you. Leaders, you're expecting better from these people who are not willing to take responsibility. They want to. When last have you heard these people come out and say, you know what? We blundered in this process. We need to take the responsibility, sit down and problem solve. That's why leaders who know that Ure fought, know that Joseph Boaka fought, know that Nyombli fought, know that Alexander Cummings fought, know that the others, that the kind of people you expect. Look, I care less about even a crisis. Let's move away from the crisis now. Because crisis will always happen, either because of incompetence or because of dishonesty, whatever reason they are. But when crisis happen, that's when you see true leaders. That's when true leaders step to the fore and say, you know what, stop wasting our time about whose fault it is. This is our organization. If it is in tatters and going down the drain, then we are at fault. All of us combined, regardless of what role you play, we will sit down at the table, we will sit down in the room, and we will solve the freaking problems. We will not leave. We will not look for whose fault. We will not look for blame, who to assign blame to, because assigning blames does not solve any problem. That is the same thing with the Republic of Liberia. You keep kicking the problem down the road. Every other government can. Oh, Ellen Johnson said the government said education system is a mess, but we'll leave it for Georgia government. Georgia government took her and said the problem we took over is too much. We can't face all of it, so we'll just be doing it small to we'll leave it for the next government. That's what we've been doing since 1847. Kicking the can down the road, blaming everybody else. Ellen Johnson said the government blamed the wars, the years of war. She took over zero, nothing was that great. She left from that Georgia country and blamed her government for tattering, putting the economy in tatters before she left. Georgia government to the person that will come after we blame George. What kind of job? You put your hand up. You knew George Weah government is a mess, but you put your hand up and said you can fix it. So from the day you step there, zero excuse. George Weah time finished. George Weah is not to blame for anything. It's your problem that you've purchased now. You have owned it. If you can fix it, you have failed. And not George Weah. That's the reason why George Weah people got nothing on Ellen Johnson's leave. Ellen did what she did. We will hold her accountable. We will scrutinize her government. But the problems of George Weah government are George Weah's problems. They were never created by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. That's the greatest lie. You own it. George Weah was running for president for a long time. He said he could fix all of those things. You will fix it. If you don't fix it, you are a failure. So just stop wasting your time on CPP. The problem we are looking at with the CPP fracas and the framework is not the issue of politics about which party won't be standard bearer, which party is wrong. No, it's the issue about the gross display of the lack of leadership in all sectors. Look at the letters our lawyers wrote. See the letter. They asked our lawyers, they said, this document that you help us put together, we have accusation that somebody altered it and tampered with it and put things inside that were not inside. You were the one who worked on the last version of it. Can you look at it and tell all the things that inside there, were you the one that put it there? Or is there something in there that you did not put that came from some foreign element? The lawyers wrote back and said, when you get all the document in June, we made substantial and structural changes to the document, and then we send it back to y'all. After we send it back to your senator, we cash it again. Okay, what about the question that says the one you send back to all? Is it looking just like the one I hear today? No, then they come down and say, but you know, the way we're looking at it, we don't want to advise you. Because when we advise you and give our observation, we believe the thing that become too political. So we scared about what will happen when we tell you the thing, what we really, really want to say that inside our heart. So we leave our thing inside our heart. Yeah, you carry your wahala on our side. You go scatter yourself more. You were asked by 4 political parties to support a political process, and you telling us, say, you are worried because the situation has become political? What kind of problem? We don't ask you to tell the politics. We don't ask you to name us who changed the document. We just ask you, is anything in the document that you did not put there? Was the document changed? Yes. Was the document changed? No. Now we need to know. The same document that you work on in June and give it back to all. Can you look at it and look at the other 1 year and compare two and tell if anything changed? Y'all can tell. But you know what? Let's take some comments. Let's take some reactions from our viewers before I continue here to wrap up the second half of the show. Let's take some reactions. Those of you who disagree with me, please. And those of you who agree with me, also fine. But let's take some of the comments from our people here. Vamadi Donzo says CPP vision and mission is just to remove George Weah. Wisa Colley says so bunch of drive oppositions drive. Alfred B. Koboy says the framework document was never discussed among the 4 political leaders of the CPP. So stop talking rubbish and nonsense. Okay, Alfred, I think you're from a different planet. Saying when I discuss among, I know who else it was discussed among. So the 4 political leaders, they didn't participate in the process. Hallelujah to you, my friend. You can use better words than that, right? We don't need to insult each other yet. It's a simple conversation we're having here, Chief. June Smiley, put the framework document up. Let's see it and see what you are referring to. I'm waiting for you. Please do, sir. I'm not putting framework document up. We're tired of reading it. If anything I say is wrong, you go and put it. I'm not even reading what's in the framework document. I'm telling you the colossal display and ineptitude of leadership. That's what I'm talking about here. Emmanuel Avi McWashington say the guys are just not leaders. That's all. But sadly, in Liberia, if you can talk plenty and make noise all around, you are classified as a leadership material. John Mawolo said Cummins made a financial report, which was the first one. When he turned over to LP, ANC accepted, though knowing it was flawed, because in our democracy, the equation was 3 against 1. But ANC know their bias. We exposed them to the Liberian people, and it has. Hey, then Cummins is also just as responsible for everything that's going on in the CPP, because no member of the CPP can exempt themselves from the problem. You are part of an organization. You collectively take the responsibility. You're not in any partnership and framework when you selectively choose what you want and what you don't. John Mahalo said, what was political was not the document. It was a process nobody took before he sent it to them. So I think you understood their refusal to pay. No, I'm not talking about let's forget about the process. You had the content of the document. Okay, let's agree. The process you used was political. Which other process you would have used? You're working with politicians. There are no other process they know how to use except politics. So I don't know why you're surprised that it's political. Stanley. Even a lawyer from ANC said there were harmless errors and changes that tells you something was tempered. I'm not arguing whether something was tempered or not tempered with. I'm saying, how can everybody running around looking for who to blame rather than leaders that we know? What leaders do when this situation happens, they freaking sit down at the table. Their inability to sit down and problem solve, instead they spend all their time looking for who to blame is the main problem itself. Eugene Hammer said he's not the smartest, but he's saying the truth. Election will not change Liberia. We as people need to change ourselves. Every political hands have worked in government, excluding Cummins. Angazi Dwalu, my brother Angazi Dwalu, say the reason why legal decisions are not fully finalized in Liberia is simple. Personal interests are always placed above national interests. Ya Destin Gelefekin, I'll pronounce the name. Gelefekenigi. The people say they're not able your case. Take it somewhere else. No issue. Okay, no problem, yeah. Nyakwe Gerham Bowman. Get it right. Yombly did not ask the lawyers to review the 2 documents. She asked for their advice. Read Yombly letter. Okay, what kind of advice she asked for now? Okay. Saying that what she asked, the advice she asked for to do what? Okay, but you can create some problem there. All of them following anything now, you're alone. So why did the lawyer comment on the framework document change of them, but them making changes then? If the owner asks for advice. Nyankwe Bowman said, you are wrong, Mr. Host. Normally request of the lawyer was to advise and not to review the document changes were made. Okay, then why did the lawyer say we made substantial changes and structural changes to the framework document? Then why did the lawyer go down there now? Oh, they just decided to volunteer that information on their own? Hallelujah to you. Stanley say everyone hosting their own press conference. That's why the confusion has no resolution. I agree with you that they all failed as leaders. That is my core argument. I'm not here to pick and choose. Cummins changed the document. Cummins not change the document. Yombly use political. The argument is all of them it's a colossal failure on all of them collectively. Randall Thomas said the lawyers did a cover up for someone with respect to the framework. I have no evidence of that, so I can only speak of what I have evidence to. I'm saying, Lawrence Shaku Boyi said, good thing today is running into your program. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for joining as well. So let's get back to it. Y'all keep going to and at the same thing happening in the bigger picture. Everybody focus on the wrong things in Liberia. Everybody focus on, oh, who changed the document? Who now authored the document? All of y'all in one organization. Y'all agree. Whether you knew somebody will roll, whether somebody will PPP power. So you look at it, you say, okay, you know what? We'll all join membership in the organization. We are members. Then problem happen in the organization. You are not just a member, but one of the leaders of the organization. And then all the leaders decide that will run around and find who we can get blame. Let's stick it on somebody. Let's find everybody who we want blame. Let's find the person who. No, you're not sitting and saying, my people, we have a serious problem. There's a serious issue here. So we will call all of us leaders to the table. We need to sit down. We need to dig out what this problem is, and we need to solve it. We're not digging it out because we're looking for who to blame. We are digging it out because we cannot allow it. We cannot allow our organization that we all work for to go. No, what they do, all the leaders running around tearing it apart more, sending their supporters to go on the tirade of insulting, tearing down, making statements, some of which that people might never be able to forgive, calling each other criminals. And then when they finish, they'll kind of sit and behind closed doors. And then they expect anybody to take you seriously. It's not. So you forget it. They're not Nyomli Ford, they're not Joseph Baga Ford, they're not Kumis Ford, they're not AOP. All of them are failures. I've never seen any of them taking leadership, taking the role of leadership, which would have been to summon all of the participants. That nonsense what they're talking, Costa come on air, he yell, he want to scream. He finish, the ANC people want to talk show, and to come on air, they yell, they scream. When they finish, our brother and Spoon TV take it to the shred it apart more. When they finish, you keep giving people content as to why the organization should be destroyed. Then in the same breath, you call yourself one of the leaders of the organization. How is that not upside down? I'm in my house with my oldest son, my daughter and whatever, all of them got their roles in the house, right? And then all of a sudden, a serious conflict breaks up in my house. But the first thing I do, I run to the Liberian community meeting to go tell and say, you see my son that criminal. My son criminal. My son stole my meat from the S-bags. He stole my meat. And my son said, I never stole the meat. I lied. My pa too, that criminal. My pa accusing me of stealing meat. In my own home, where the meat got missing. And I call my son, call my daughter, call everybody to the living room table. We'll sit down on our table. We'll dig into the facts as to how this meat got missing. We'll find out the reality, and we will put in place mechanisms so that no other meat can go missing in this house again. That's leadership. That beat in the book and you leadership. That's what it is. My brothers and sisters, agree with me or disagree with me. I care less which side of the party you on. Waste your time on who authored the document or who didn't author the document. Waste your time on who playing politics and who's not playing politics. All of those are irrelevant to me. The most important thing here is the colossal failure of all of the leaders of the CPP. That is what is scary. Because based on how politics is shaping, it's going to be the CDC versus the CPP. That's what it looks like so far. It could change. I don't know. But if it shapes out to be that, then you should be afraid. And that is the reason why I keep making my argument that the next election will not solve Liberia's problem. The next government will just blame Georgia government too and say, oh, the same way Georgia government blame Ellen government. Ellen government blame the war in Chartered Town. Chartered government blame the war in Dotan. Do government blame Tower government blame Tottenham government. It went on and on. At the same trajectory we're continuing. Right? I was hoping to start seeing the outrage from all CPP members to all of their leaders combined, saying, what kind of gross incompetence is this? All of them, I was waiting to see ANC partisans, UP, ALP, telling their leader in their face, you guys are inept. We are disappointed in all of you combined. That your only interest is to find whose fault it is. Your only interest is to find who do we blame, excluding yourself. Your only interest is to defend yourself against everybody else. Where is your interest in saying, my people, our union has a big issue and we all are responsible for it? I myself, if you don't want to take your own part of responsibility, I will take my own. Let's sit at the table because we must find a solution. If we believe in this union, if we believe this is what we are holding true to, then sorry, you're not out. Stop wasting your time over there looking for who to blame. Stop Having your own press conferences to justify. Don't waste your time. When you in politics, it's fair game. People throw stuff at you. They say performance is the best response to criticism. And I'm more talking. People came and say the CPP that chaos, that mess or whatever. Then you'll go have more press conferences to say the CPP that not chaos. And then in the press conferences you'll create more chaos. When people say the CPP that chaos and you disagree or whatever, perform. The best response to criticism is performance. It's not more talking. Since the CPP fragga started, it been from one talking to another talking, one destruction to another destruction, one inept comment to another inept comment, one insult to another insult at the highest levels. And then when people make some of the reckless comments on Facebook, they see 300 comments on it, they think they are popular or they said something good because 300 people commenting on it. Now let's get serious. We got 10 more minutes. So before we wrap up, let's do some more comments. Let's get some more of your reactions here. Let's get some more reactions from our viewers here and see what you were saying. Let's hear from you. Sorry, today we're not able to take calls. We have some technical issues, so we're not taking calls. So if you want to participate on the show, please do it by putting your comment into the comment section. All of the talk shows I've been listening to everybody, I've never heard anyone dwelling down on the problem. All of them trying to find out who wrong, who authored the document, who not authored the document. Okay, let me ask you today. If we came by somehow miraculously God showed us in a dream and vision that Alexander Cummings authored the framework document and submitted it to NEC, and then we establish it, who does it damage? You forget? And Cummings are part of the CPP? You forgotten? That is the reason why CPP needs to get his act together and solve the problem, figure out who's at fault and who's at fault, do whatever punishment that is required, take the punishment. It's not supposed to be you're out here trying to ask who might help your honesty, who to blame. You're fighting together like Brimpo to agree with your own who might hold responsible. Your second find who to hold responsible. You can't even find your framework document. You say, Cummings won't get a copy. How can a bunch of educated people get together, work on a document that you all are members of, like the constitution of the organization? But you make sure only one man is left with the actual copy that you need, only one man had it. So it became a talk of war to get access to the constitution. The same thing you do to the constitution of Liberia. That only 10% of the population have it, only 10% of the population can even try to understand it. 90% of people cannot understand it. Go Zog, go bang out. Nobody know what is in the constitution. Our people don't even know what their rights are or what their rights are not. The same thing you have done in the constitution of Liberia. The same example here. You write a framework document, although you sat there, and you're proud to be saying that Cummings get a copy. Cummings must produce a copy of our framework document. Then you're running around the place. And first of all, what kind of irresponsibility is that on all of y'all? What kind of irresponsibility is that? Y'all write a document, only one man get an original copy of it. So all of y'all get together and y'all say, you're not get a copy, y'all can go anywhere. The man must give you the copy. Okay, the man say, you're not give it to y'all. And you think that's a bigger problem. You think that's a problem about right now. This is almost a year later, by the way. And people, if we got some more comments there, let's see some of our people's reactions. Tiola Gibson said, I agree with you. At the end of the day, we should all come together and make it work. It's about the Liberian people. Seattle Townsend says, CPP needs you, Leo. Seattle, the way I see things, CPP will kick me out the next day when I go in. I seriously think so. So maybe that's why they're not even bothering me. Alfonso Gika Down say, okay, so how do you stop the colossal failure if you're not willing to hold individuals accountable for their actions? You get leaders around the table to put in place processes of accountability to hold themselves accountable. But right now, that's not what they're doing. They are looking for who to blame. Look, blaming people and holding people accountable are two different things. Holding people accountable is to say, we will make you not only acknowledge your actions, but if there are bad actions, then we'll compel you to correct them and do better. And we will do it collectively because we are all in an association. So when somebody, right now, like I keep saying, we don't see financial reports and financial statements from CPP, right? Where's the accountability there? Who's holding who accountable? No, that only when they say documents are authored, you're selective. The one that affects you, that the one you can hold people accountable for. Then when I won't finish, you pay all your dues. You're not paying all your dues. No, nobody holds someone accountable for that one. So no, we're not asking for what you need to do is to get leaders at the table who will be willing to problem solve as more problems will pop up in the CPP. Like that 1 year. So if you get people around the table who are not leaders, who know how to build, who know how to attack crisis, take it head on for the purpose of resolving it, not for escalating it because it benefits them, your good luck to your CPP. Will be here. And we here. 2023 coming. But let's go ahead. Stanley say it's complete blame games. They need to be serious. That's all they're doing. Nobody talking about solving a problem. Everybody looking for who to blame. John Mauler said Leo theory is always good. I see you read a lot, but they don't tell you in theory. Well, what they don't tell you in theory is based on the reality of life. The way theory applies is promotional to the understanding. Yeah, the reality of life in Liberia are corruption. I will not live that reality, John Maulo. I will live the theory that I'm living right now of transparency. I have to run an organization, and that theory is working. The only reason why the theory does not work because from the beginning, CPP got together in a corrupt format. So transparent theories will not work. Producing financial report, John Maulo, how is that theoretical and not practical? Audits. How are audits theoretical and not practical? He said, what you are saying is democracy is not practical, but they're not true. I see it work in Canada. I see it work in Ghana. I see it working in Liberia. It can't work. Then why you keep lying to us, say you will make Liberia to look like that? So that means everything you're telling us is a lie. Because I've listened to your leader, Alexander Cummings, and other people who said when they get to power, they will make the country accountable, they will make the country this. So all of that thing you're telling us are they're lies. Unless you prepare to tell me that those are lies, then that's fine. But if the things you're saying you will make Liberia to become when you become president, then you should be able to do it now with your political parties. Stanley said, balance analysis tonight. You are on point, brother. Thank you. Emmanuel Jesse said, those political actors are devious and arrogant. I think they should have taken court actions in order to find amicable. Court action will not even find amicable solution to investigate the authoring of CPP's document. They're not able to investigate it, period. If CPP is not able to investigate the authoring of its own document, then they should disband. There's no point of having CPP when it can do the simplest possible thing. Stanley said, and the problem is with the copy filed at NEC. So the lawyers needed to address that, which was the best way to solve the problem. No, the lawyers said the thing would be too political when they say there was a change in the document or not. So they will leave it like that. Let the CPP go. They say they're enjoying the way the CPP, they're cussing each other. They're enjoying the way the leader, they're going around, the other person blaming, everybody trying to find who to blame. The lawyer, they say they're enjoying it, so they don't want to leave it, let it stay like that. Jones Marley says, my brother, your points validated your presentation, but your conclusion is wrong. Put up the framework as evidence. Well, you're not looking for evidence, Jones. I'm telling you, say, I don't see, give me one evidence of which one of the leaders has tried, or of the leaders of CPP getting together to resolve the problem in CPP. And I have to waste my time on triviality to go put a framework document and read it line by line. No, their own document, they can live up to it. The document said they might pay dues. Are they paying dues? The document said, somebody said the document was altered. Great, the document was altered, right? No, but all of the leaders passing around in the public, trying to gain public support for who they think authored the document, but they got no evidence to prove it, right? So I don't yet for CPP framework. Go read it. All I want to read it. We're tired reading it now. Jules Malley. Sir, CPP is a government in waiting. Let us focus on the government of the day to make no, we're not focused on the government of the day because you cannot accuse the government of the day of doing wrong and then you do worse than the government of the day. No, look, CDCSA can manage your problem better than the way CPP has managed the framework crisis. Take me to court for that. Show me if I'm wrong. Lucas said the lawyers themselves are cowards. So again, as I wrap up today, I will remind you the CPP framework crisis is a crisis beyond politics. Don't get it wrong. Don't get caught up in the everyday Henry Costa yell today, Spoon TV yell tomorrow, OKFM said today. Don't get caught up in that thing. It's a distraction. That's not the issue. All of those people are just trying to gain public sentiments on their side. And that is not solving problem. If anything, it is more divisive. It's dividing the Liberians more. It's even dividing your own members of your CPP. What we need to focus on is the colossal failure. Flomo Augustus, Pape Flomo says, the lawyers are either incompetent, dishonest, or compromised. So what you need to focus on is the scary moment of the complete gross inaptitude and incompetence of people who many believe are leaders. Because you know what will happen? Let me tell you. When this election comes down to CPP versus CDC, one of them we end up winning. Seattle said we can walk and chew gum. Leo, I agree, Seattle, we can walk and chew gum. And we should do that. So, and you see the kind of excuse people can give you. My other brother talking about, oh, the thing in theory, it can be in practice. Says who? It's been in practice before. You even try something and you say it can be in practice. The attitude in Liberia where you get to be corrupt before you can do anything, we will debunk it. Samuel Morgan says, Ure and company have an open agenda to exclude Cummings and by exposing a lie. When a lie is published in public, in-house resolution is impossible. Forget leadership. which is completely different for a manager, and they are not qualified as managers. So why then will you be in an association with somebody you say you're not able to be with? Samuel Morgan, then what's the point? Huh? If you say it's impossible to solve problems, then what's the point of the CPP? Disband it. Because problems will come. There is no association. Jesus will have 12 disciples, problem scheme. Jesus will have 12 disciples, problem scheme. So disband the CPP. My better son said, brother, those guys are jokers. If CPP takes over 2023, there will be a great fight within the CPP because UP would like to take all the better positions. LP will also want to take the good position too, while ANC will also want it too. Any mistake, another frustration will come on the Liberian people. So y'all disband the CPP. Y'all say the problems in CPP are impossible to solve. No leader able to solve it because only in theory possible. Disband it. So you are even more dishonest, but still pushing the CPP agenda and then telling us that the problems there is impossible to resolve. So what should we take you for? But ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the conclusion of another beautiful show of the Liberian Dream today on Focus on Liberia, where we talk about the issues that should empower all of our citizens and not just an elite few. Where the old man in Zogowi, the young boy in Joplo Ken, the young girl in Grand Cape Mon County, the pape in Zwedru, the little boy in Bogonima, the little girl anywhere in Liberia or in Monrovia for that matter, all of them should feel a part of this union that is called Liberia, because it is our only political party that we must consistently ascribe to, because all the other ones will come and go. Governments will come, government will go. My friends, the CPP framework, a crisis beyond politics. My name is Lupolu Johnson, and I came to you live this afternoon from Canada, Hamilton, Ontario. Have yourself a good week. Bye-bye for now.
We are Liberia.